Hi, this is Calvin Cox. It's Thursday evening, January 31, 2013, and it's 7:21 p.m. What I wanted to talk about this evening was something I'm fairly concerned about, in that monies I don't think are being applied completely fairly, but everybody's got their own opinions about things. But $85 billion a month is being spent by the Fed to bolster certain markets and treasury and notes. And my feeling is that if you just took $5 billion, if you're already spending 85, you could just slide 5 off that. And I'm just going to throw out some numbers and why I think this. I'm trying to get right to the point. I don't want to drag it out a long time. I got to get to bed and get my beauty sleep, which I'm getting pretty old, so obviously I need a lot of it. This would cover workers from minimum wage to up to about $16 an hour. If you were a skilled worker, you would probably come in at 12 bucks an hour, depending on what you would be doing. There is a lot of things around this country that need to be done. There's a lot of people unemployed, and this idea I had could bring at 5.2 billion, could bring in 250,000 workers per. Well, you would hire for a whole year. So anyway, these numbers are all based on just $10 an hour. Okay, so the 250,000 workers is not a completely solid number. It's just a number to work with. Okay, anyone can do the math. If a program like this were to take off, anyone can do the math to actually calculate the wages and number of workers. It's just, I use $10 an hour as some number to work with that's within the range I'm talking about. Okay, if you have someone who's working at $10 an hour, 40 hours a week, that's going to be $400 per week times 52 weeks, because you would hire them for 1 year. That $5.2 billion would hire workers for 1 full year. 52 weeks equals $20,800 for one worker for 1 year at $10 an hour, 40 hours a week. Okay, $20,800 times 250,000 workers equals $5.2 billion. And I just double checked on my calculator. That's completely correct. That's right here. Okay. Now the amount of workers and how much they're getting per week, of course, is going to vary, like I said, depending on the job they get, their skill level, and what's needed to be done. Okay, now if you take the concept that $1 of spending generates another $5 of spending behind it. Okay. If you take that, I'm trying to show here that $5.2 billion, if you slide it out of the 85 that's already been spent every month anyway, over into a public works project, how that would actually generate, I think, a huge amount of economic money flows. It would be, I'm thinking, probably the best stimulus you could probably get, because I'll explain why a little bit better. But okay, if you went with the idea $1 generates $5 of spending behind it, okay, then you have to figure that half of the money that any worker earns every week, and I'm just trying to figure a way to, half of the money, in other words, the worker pays rent money. That money paid to a landlord or to a mortgage company is not the kind of money that stimulates the economy per se. Like buying a toaster, going out to the movies, going out to dinner, getting a new pair of shoes, some clothes, a work jacket. All those kind of things generate additional spending behind them. So what I'm saying is, the workers pay whatever. Of the $5.2 billion, I'm assuming half of the $5.2 billion across the board is going to be paid towards rent and other things that would not really stimulate the economy. Okay, figure half of the $5.2 billion would go to pay rent or mortgage and other monies that don't stimulate much economically. Okay, so half of the $5.2 billion is $2.6 billion. Okay, and I took that number times 5, because $1 generates $5. Okay, times 5 equals $13 billion of stimulative push. Now, if that is fairly correct, that's a hell of a deal. That's a hell of a lot of stimulation. If you only spent $5.2 billion, but you actually got $13 billion of stimulative oomph from that amount of money, I think that's great. That's fantastic. The other thing is, you get people doing something. My job just recently, I didn't work today because we didn't have work. I was pretty upset about that. You know, I got out of home and I went over to McDonald's, had some coffee, and read something, and was trying to think, what am I going to do here, whatever. But to get out of the house, I knew that was important to do that. But when people don't have work and a reason to get out of bed in the morning and go, do something to help bring in some money to keep a roof over their head, keep themselves fed, it's very damaging. It messes people up in a big way. And it's more positive to have people working, doing something Monday through Friday. You have incentive to get out of bed, go work, earn a paycheck, turn around and spend that paycheck, things you want, keep a roof over your head, buy food, stuff like that. And plus that extra tax money coming in really helps. So there's a lot of really good reasons to do a program like that. And the positive side is that if the $5.2 billion and everything worked out good, and you could see some stimulating effect that could be measured, which I'm sure you would be able to see, the Fed could go from, just $5.2 billion to try doubling it. But the advantage would be is that if every month they took $5.2 billion, that would hire 250,000 for a whole year. In 4 months, you would have hired 1 million workers. And in 1 year, you would have hired 3 million workers for a whole year. And I don't see how that couldn't help, because I think the estimate is 12 to 14 million people are unemployed. And it's a huge drag. But this would provide the money necessary to give those people an opportunity to work. Thanks.